Okay, so in this video, I'm going to talk about exporting channels when you render an image in Enscape. So we have our same model set up. We already have the views and all the settings established for the rendering. I just want to talk about one option that you can include when you export a final rendered image. So if I go under my Enscape tab, under my visual settings button here, that's the little sliders one, eyeball, go to the section called capture. I have a little check box marked here where it says export object ID, material ID, and depth channel. And I have that checked, and I'll show you what that does. So if I go to one of my views here, and I'll start my rendering, start Enscape. So there we can see we have our view. If I then go to capture this view, I have my Enscape capturing toolbar open. The button all the way on the left to just create a capture of the view I'm currently in. That render and save to my folder there. So now when I go to my folder and I look at those images that I just exported, I have one frame that's a rendering, one frame that's that depth channel, which can be used for certain effects. Can be kind of interesting. I have my material ID channel, which you can see is all just one color, and then my background kind of my viewport is all black, and then I have one that's my material ID channel, and this is my object ID channel. The object ID channel applies a unique color to every independent object, which, as you can see, that obviously makes life a lot easier when you're selecting and editing objects in Photoshop in order to make adjustments and quickly edit in Photoshop. However, I also want to set the same thing up for my my material ID channel so that I have differentiation based on the materials in my scene. So what I'm doing over here, I don't have any real materials applied except for a glass material there. What I want to do, I'm going to stop my rendering here. It's good to remember each time you change materials, you have to restart the Enscape rendering engine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a material to each object that I want to have a different material. So, and I don't need to necessarily have different settings, like they don't have to be set up to a different color or have different settings applied to them. I'm just going to set them up so that they have this separate material. And as long as each layer has a separate material, so I've already created a bunch here, you can see. And these are all, again, basically the same exact settings as the default. And as long as I have a different material applied, it should automatically create a different color when I export my material ID. I'm going to go ahead and finish applying these real quick. Okay, so you can see over here in my layers panel, I've applied a different material to each object. Remember, I stopped my rendering before, so I have to restart it. Give that a second to load. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and capture that frame one more time. And then over here, where that rendering was exported, you can see we now have a different color generated for each separate layer, basically, or each separate material that I've applied to different layers. And that, again, makes my life a little bit easier, so I can select by material when I'm photoshopping in Photoshop. So if you skip ahead to the video about Photoshop composition, putting your rendering in and kind of adjusting levels and inserting a background, you'll see where I'll make reference to this, or I'll use these layers in order to help me adjust and compose my image. And that will be the end of this video.